guys, it's Nick from Begin Fit, and today I'm going to go through a different kind of video with you. So this channel is predominantly fitness and gym workouts etc. related, but we're also a martial arts channel. So I haven't got any actual martial arts for you today, or Wing Chun, which is the martial art that I teach myself. Haven't got any footage of me performing anything today, but if you guys are interested in the UFC, which is the Ultimate Fighting Championship, even if you're not interested in it, you would have probably heard of the name Conor McGregor. Okay, so if you don't know, Conor McGregor is my favourite UFC fighter. No disliking. I know that he is a bit like Marmite, you either love him or you hate him, but even if you hate him, you cannot deny that the bloke is a pure talent. So he has just had a war with a guy, if you obviously don't know, called Diaz, or Nathan Diaz. So Nate Diaz has been fighting in the UFC for over 10 years. He's always fought top 10 fighters, and he's never really got to that level where he's getting paid the big checks like a lot of the other fighters. He's seen a bit as a bad boy in the sport, you know. He's a tall, kind of lanky, runs his mouth a lot, smokes a bit of weed, but he is a wicked fighter. And behind all of his like technical ability that he has, especially in things like jiu-jitsu and boxing, which are his main attributes in his fighting style, a really sound boxer and a black belt in jiu-jitsu, he's just a hard mother, yeah, I'm not even going to say the word. He is a tough guy, alright? So he can take an absolute beating and he will not give in, he will not give up, he will just keep going. And he's got so much scar tissue on his face, even just catching him anywhere will just reopen that scar tissue, and he literally looks like a waterfall of blood pouring out of his face. And he doesn't care, he will just keep fighting through. So Conor McGregor started probably about 2-3 years ago, started to really get noticed. He was in the UFC, he was calling people and telling them second round knockout, boom, straight out of there, second round knockout. First round KO, bang, first round KO. He was calling it, he was doing it, he was talking a talk and walking a walk. You could not deny that this guy was raising the UFC as big as it was. Since he started hit the highlights, the UFC has shot up and gone from big to massive, and a lot of that is down to the man management of Conor McGregor, but also just him himself. Just type in on YouTube Conor McGregor and just watch his best clips of him running his mouth. It is absolutely awesome.
It's red panty night when you sign to find me, eh? Back at home with your wife. It's a celebration.
So he can really get hype behind his fights. Okay, so he was he fights in the featherweight, which is 145 pound, and the champion at that weight was a guy called Aldo. Okay, Jose Aldo, and he was actually my favourite fighter before Conor McGregor come along. And just the way that McGregor was just won me over. I loved it. So he basically called out Aldo and said that he wants to come for his belt. They were supposed to fight. Aldo hurt his ribs, couldn't fight. So then it was postponed. He fought someone called Mendes, who everyone was saying, oh, it's the worst person that Conor could fight because the styles is exactly, Chad is everything that Conor's not, etc, etc. After a little bit of fighting on his back, Conor got back to his feet and finished Chad, I think in the second round. Wiped the floor with him. Next person, Aldo. Can't run anymore. And basically the trash talk that went on before the fight just beat Aldo before he even got in the octagon. You could see on his face the stress and the anger and the pressure that Aldo was under, being the undefeated champion for 10 years, fighting really some relatively new guy who is just walking through the featherweight division all the way to the top, and now he's called you out, you've got nowhere to go, you're standing in front of him. 13 seconds later, Aldo is KO'd on the floor, and we've got a new featherweight champion in the sights of Conor McGregor. So, Conor McGregor is now the featherweight champion, and no one has in the UFC has ever held the two titles consecutively, like at the same time. Sorry. So that is exactly what he wanted to do. He wanted to go up to lightweight, which is 155, and fight the champion called Rafael dos Anjos. Sorry, me pronouncing all these names terribly. Another Brazilian, like Aldo's Brazilian, and Rafael dos Anjos is Brazilian as well, and obviously they were going to fight for the lightweight belt. That never happened, and on a card that I can't remember what the card was, some UFC fight card, literally every fighter that was within a couple of weight categories of Conor McGregor was calling him out, telling him that they're going to be the one to beat him. Okay, so Nate Diaz steps up, starts running his mouth, telling him that he's the real fight, he's the one for Conor to step up to. The only problem is, it was at 170 pound. Okay, so Conor fights at 145, and he took the fight with Nate Diaz at 170. Now that is just a weigh-in weight. Okay, so you go, you weigh in, and then you've got 24 hours basically to gain as much weight as you can. Okay, so there are some reports saying that Nate Diaz went into that fight at about 180 pound, 183 pound or something like that, I think it was. And Conor, because he's smaller, he couldn't gain any extra weight. He'd already gained as much as he could, and he was fighting at like 167, 168. Okay, so he's going into this fight, even this just say, going in there at 170. So he did put on a bit of weight over that 24 hours, and he's fighting at 170. Nate is fighting at like 10 to 13 pound heavier, and he's, I think it's 4 inches taller, got an inch or two extra reach. It's a complete mismatch of styles. And you've got to think that Conor was training for a 155 fight, and he has gained in, I think it was 11 days, like 15 pound. That is going to have massive influence on your cardio, okay? Because you have just gained like, was it 15 pound, or yeah, 15 pound in 11 days. That's nearly a stone. So you're going to be heavier, you're not going to be conditioned nearly enough to be able to withstand 5-round fight, that each round is 5 minutes. You're looking at 25 minutes of fighting if it goes the whole distance. So the way Conor went straight into this fight, knowing that 1, this guy is bigger, 2, Conor's been training for someone who is at 155, and 11 days later fighting someone who's 170, who's actually fighting at, on the day, around about 180. He's got to go in there and take him out, because he knows that his cardio is not going to last the fight. So Conor absolutely lights, absolutely tears Nate Diaz apart in that first round. Okay, now Nate Diaz has taken a fight on 11 days notice, so he's not sharp, he's not ready. So, you know, there's pros and cons on either side. At least Conor has been training and sparring and sharpening all his tools, where Nate Diaz hasn't. But he's gone out there and he's literally lit Nate up. And then the second round comes and Conor is fading fast. For the first about 30 seconds to a minute, Conor again is beating Nate Diaz, but you can just see his hands are dropping, he's walking around, his legs, and when your stamina goes, when your cardio goes, your chin goes. Nate catches Conor flush on the chin. I think it's a 1-2. that is it. Conor is wobbling, and it's just the beginning of the end from there. Eventually, Conor tries to take Nate down just to weather the storm, just to get away from the punches. You're literally stepping into a lion's den. You're walking straight into what is Nate Diaz's one of his best attributes, and what is Conor's probably one of his worst. You know, Conor's a stand-up guy. He's got precision punches, excellent like capoeira kicks and spinning back kicks and stuff, body kicks, but taking to the floor was, it's one of those things where Nate's the bigger guy, you can't tie him up, he'll probably be too strong, and his range is too long, so you have to get in. But where he was tired and feeling it, and obviously his eyes were going, he can't get in on him, so he tries to take him to the floor, and that is the beginning of the end. Taps Conor out. So that is Conor's first loss in the UFC. Then it is time for Conor and Nate 2. So Conor basically says that he wants redemption, he wants to call Nate back out. Both have a full camp, and the good thing, and the thing that you cannot not respect Conor McGregor for, is he says that he is a fighter. You know, he's not in it for the competition, he's in it to prove that, you know, he is in it for the money, but he's a fighter, and you can't pick and choose where you want to be. And what kind of fighter would he be if he went, I want to fight Nate Diaz again, but I want to fight him at 155 where I'm comfortable? So he took the fight again at 170. Now of course he gets a camp and he gets to train to be 170 and for his cardio to be better at 170, but this is a guy that fights at 145. This isn't someone that fights at 160 even, where it's just £10 over X amount of months. I know he walks around at say about 165, 170 potentially, but with all the training, with everything, you're gonna lose weight. So now he's trying to fit all that in and gain weight. It was a hard task, but he took the fight, Nate took the fight. They were fighting at UFC 202 in Vegas, and it was at 170 again. Okay, so hats off to Conor for doing it. Hats off to Nate for saying, bring it on again, let's have it out again. They went toe to toe again. Oh my God. This time it did last the whole 5 rounds. Now the first fight, even though Conor was lighting Nate up, he didn't put him down. He didn't have the power there to put Nate down, especially Nate being someone who is weathered on taking some big punches. This time, boom. Chins Nate, knocks Nate down. I think he's a bit, oh crap, like this dude's hitting harder now. And tactically, a bigger guy, longer reach, obviously super durable. Conor is working to the legs, working and battering Nate Diaz's front leg. Is literally, by the end of the first round, his leg is bruised and battered. Conor has chinned him, he's knocked him down. Nate now knows he's in a proper war with someone who is clinical, precise, and now has got the power and has got the tactics to be able to take it to Nate for a longer period of time. So second round goes again. Conor is just blitzing Nate, smashing him to pieces again, barely getting caught until right at the end of the first round. Conor is against the side of the octagon, and Nate is teeing off. Literally, I think if that fight there had gone for another 10 seconds, I think the ref would have probably stopped it. Conor is weathering the storm, but he's just taking bang, 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 bang against the side of the cage, not really returning with anything moving, ducking out the way of some, trying to go to the body, but not with much really like potential to do any damage, because Conor is just Nate is just teeing off. Into the third round. Now they're both, you can see the energy levels of both of them is starting to fade, but they are teeing off again. They are going at it. Literally, Diaz's face is pouring with blood. Conor is covered in Diaz's blood. I think it was the third or the fourth round, I can't remember. But Diaz gets knocked down twice. So Conor just chins him where his leg is so battered. As soon as he steps back on it, it gives way. He's falling down against the octagon. Conor, clever, smart, is telling him to get up because he knows that he can hit him on the stand up. But if they go to the floor, then it's just ridiculous. It's game over for Conor straight away. Even though he would have been practicing on the floor, the 10+ years in the black belt experience that Nate Diaz has got, you can't learn in 6 months. So he's telling him to get back to his feet. Literally, they are just going at it now. Into the 5th round, they are both tired. Diaz is holding Conor against the fence, just hitting him again, kneeing him. Conor would switch it. Diaz kept trying to take him to the floor. Couldn't get him to the floor. Conor's got really good anti-ground work, so from stand up not to get thrown. It's really good, especially when he's against the cage. Really sinks himself, good centre of gravity, low centre of gravity, and can fight off most or fought off all Diaz's takedowns apart from one right at the end. And again, if that had gone on for a prolonged time, that could have been the end of the fight. But people are saying this, people are saying, oh, if it could continue, then Diaz would have won. But the thing is, it's not. It's 5 minute rounds. They had just as much time each. So as much as Diaz could have knocked him out in that 2nd round and potentially at the end of that 5th round, he didn't do it in time, and he ran out of time. You know, Conor could have put him away if it was that 1st round had continued. Conor would have put him away. You know, there's hundreds of different ifs, buts and maybes that you can say. So it was just an absolute war. Here's some pictures if you haven't seen. Absolute, just tore each other apart. It was a war, and we might be getting round 3 as it's 1-1. We need a 3rd, we need a decider. Can't wait, and if I could, I'd get tickets and go. I'd love to see Conor fight in real life. He's my favourite. I think he's awesome. Hats off to Nate, who again I've really liked, like Aldo. Really rate Nate Diaz. But check out the fight. I'm sure it'll be on YouTube somewhere. Just type in Conor Nate Diaz full fight or whatever it is. I'm sure it'll be on there. But this is just my personal roundup, exactly the story and where from beginning to end where this Nate Diaz and Conor feud started. And hats off to both of them. It was a war. But the king has returned. Team McGregor.